Is my microphone working now? Yes, it is. Isn't that just fucking amazing? I had to tell you all the incredible little things that didn't work today. Oh, I'm actually still not done. I'm so tired of Linux. It's so janky. Okay. Well, let me put it this way. I'm not complaining about streaming software, which I usually complain about. But I haven't in a while. I've been trying to move away from the broken record type of deal. It's not the type of record deal I'm going for. So instead, I'm going to complain about Linux. Because in Linux, user interfaces which have existed since the 1970s are still, in 2026, second-class citizens at best. It sucks. It fucking sucks. I feel like 90% of things that break on Linux have to do with the user interface, and I have to say it probably wouldn't happen if your system knew what a UI is. I just get that slight feeling. So today I was playing a game, kind of janky old game, made for Windows, and yet apparently it has a native Linux build, so maybe not even made for Linux, for Windows. Well, I started. It opens on this screen over here, this one that we're seeing here, and then it moves over to this screen over here. I don't want that. So I move it back over. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Every time the game loads something, like a new level or something, it did this. Every cutscene, every section, every level. Yeah, all the fucking time. So what did I do? I turned off this monitor. It kept doing it to a monitor that is turned off. Why is that a possibility? Because Linux is janky. But then, what did I do? I disconnected the monitor. I took the cable out of the monitor so I could play a godforsaken game. Because there is no way for me as the user of the goddamn system to tell it, hey, this window over here, don't let it move. And yes, this is a GNOME issue, but you know what? This shouldn't happen. It's because of fragmentation. I installed an operating system that doesn't work when it comes to UI. And why doesn't it work? Because the kernel it relies on does not provide enough features for modern computers. That's the thing. The fact that the operating system, the kernel doesn't even know what a window or a user interface or a desktop is, means that it doesn't really know what a computer does nowadays. It's stuck in the 1960s and 70s representation of a computer. Which is not okay, because it's 2026. And it's not my fault that I installed this distro. I just installed whatever was available. And it just so happens to have this desktop environment that is janky. And there are better ones. But then you run into support issues. And again, all of this could be fixed if the operating system, if the kernel knew what a window is. The same way as literally everyone else does. Even if you mostly work on the terminal, you know what a window is. You still use Windows. Why is it like this? Why have we not considered, hey, I understand the POSIX standard, but this is a pretty universal thing. It's super, super common to have Windows for an end user machine. Server is different, sure. But for an end user machine, this is super common. Maybe we give it a little bit of support for that? The kernel should either understand what these are, or there should be a standard way of dealing with them. If there isn't, you're gonna have different desktop environments, and the janky one that just takes over and infighting over replacing it because it's been around for so long and people hate it, and it's just petty bickering over what desktop environment is better and which distro is better, and Linux is gonna go nowhere. Yeah, like a windowing protocol should actually be part of the kernel. It should know Again, the kernel should manage the operating system, the system's resources. What is one of the system's resources? This is a thing that the system provides. So why can't it just, I don't know, fix these kinds of issues? Also, I technically didn't even finish my story. After I had to physically disconnect my monitor because it still kept being detected even though it was off, I turned it on for streaming because I have OBS on it. And it was streaming that window instead of this one. And I had to reconfigure the streaming setup. And I'm gonna have to do that every time I play this game. Because again, I don't have control over my goddamn system. How are Windows not a system resource though? They exist within the system. They're pretty much universal within the system. It's one use case in which you don't have them. Okay, maybe more than one use case. They're an optional thing, but they exist. They're very much part of something that the system should be aware of and should have some sort of control over, because otherwise you just have a system where anyone can do whatever they want. Ubuntu can just give me a really janky desktop environment and there's nothing I can do about it. This literally cannot happen on Mac. Actually, this has happened so many times when I've opened like old games. When I was checking out hacking games, I opened Uplink, and it's a game from like 2006, being generous there. It might be from 2002, something like that, I don't know. It's not used to a big 4K monitor, so it changed my resolution. It disabled my monitor, my left monitor entirely, and I was completely unable to do anything with it. This is something that happens, and you have no control over it. As the user of the system, if an application decides to do this, they can do it. And the kernel has, it never once in the development of Linux has anyone thought, hey, you know what, maybe we should do something to prevent this. I don't care if the windowing system should exist within the kernel or not. That's for them to decide, but for the love of God. It's gonna be a janky, non-user-friendly system until you decide that some things should be in control of the user and not just any application. Why is an application fully allowed to turn on a monitor that it doesn't even exist in? Why is it allowed to permanently, until I restart, change the resolution of a new of the monitor that it actually exists in? Why is it allowed to not close itself? At which point should the operating system or kernel, I don't care, but at which point should the damn thing that's supposed to manage the system step in and be like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that? I don't think that I should allow you to do this. It runs without any issues on Mac. Because on Mac, at the end of the day, you can always take control back from a window. There's no scenario in which a window can completely hijack your system like that. Windows, it's like, yeah, it's in between. It's very likely that a game will change your system resolution on Windows, same as it does on Linux. But usually you can recover from that. And also Control-Alt-Delete tends to work. To be like, okay, whatever's happening in user land is not working out for the user, I gotta take over. You know it's bad when I'm praising Windows. You know it's bad when I'm saying Windows is doing something right. Although, like I said last time I talked about AI, I do think that Windows is doing something right by shoving Copilot in every nook and cranny that they can. That way they'll get rid of Windows, and I'm all for that. Every Copilot integration is a nail in the coffin of Windows, and I encourage it. I will provide the hammer if necessary. Hello, Peter. All games do is request a window at a lower resolution, and Windows then changes your monitor resolution instead of upscaling the game. Yeah. Windows does that. Linux does that. Windows kind of allows you to recover from that. Honestly, it's been almost a year since I've been entirely on Linux and Mac. And again, the superior choice, especially when it comes to anything that has to do with user interface, is Mac. But it's been a year since I haven't used Windows besides that stinky little old virtual machine I have on this computer. And why should you... It makes no sense. It makes no sense that you should be able to, again, hijack someone's computer like that. Yeah, you can restart a computer, but why should I have to restart a computer just because a game malfunctions? This is not like a game where they inserted malware to take over my system. It's just to completely hijack my keyboard, mouse, and monitor. They didn't do it on purpose. It's just an old game from over 20 years ago that isn't used to modern hardware. Just, why is there no way for me to truly mitigate that problem? Shouldn't the system know these things a little bit more? I'm okay with them running in userland, but at some point the system should be like, you know, the step in and take over. It should be like, okay, yeah, something's wrong here. Games do start in some random resolution, and they'll just do whatever they want, which is, again, such a common thing that you would think somebody would know about that. And backwards compatibility needs to go away. It needs to go the fuck away. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We can run emulators if it comes to that. Just, can we please move forward? We're always stuck in the same place because we need to keep back. And keep in mind, with POSIX, we're keeping backwards compatibility with the 1970s. And again, Apple has POSIX plus Apple. Linux has POSIX. And POSIX isn't even based off the first version of Unix. It's based off of several, like, merged together. But still. I don't know. Let's move forward a little bit. It's fine if a system from 20 years ago breaks a little bit. We can handle that. We can fix that. Literally, there are slop machines making code nowadays. Who gives a shit about backwards compatibility anymore? You don't have to remake an app every OS update. Just, you know, occasionally be like, hey, this like 50-year-old design decision, it's time to start moving away from it. I don't think the Linux community is capable of that. See, Wayland. My entire life I've been hearing of Wayland taking over soon. Oh, Wayland is the new one. X11 is the old one. Repeat for 20 years or so. I believe actually Wayland is like 17 years old. Where am I looking? 17 years old. Yep. And I think the entire 17 years people have been saying of it, it's, you know, it's going to be the replacement for old X11, but then it never happens. So yeah, maybe the Linux community is just incapable of these things. I don't know, but I'm so tired of this janky ass system. I'm annoyed as hell by it. You don't even have to break backwards compatibility. That's the other thing. Apple is POSIX compliant. The average Linux distro doesn't pay for POSIX compliance. Apple does, which means that Apple macOS is POSIX compliant. like on paper. But it also has its own APIs. Whenever POSIX has a limitation, sure, we have this limitation, but we have our own way of doing it. It's modern. It works with our native way of developing things. To be fair, they have their own operating system. They have their own programming language. They have their own APIs. They have their own ecosystem. But still, even if you don't have all that, yeah, you want to do POSIX? You can do POSIX on Mac. You can do POSIX on Linux. But you want to do it the modern way? You want to do it with the latest features? You want to make it nice for the fucking user? You can do that on Mac. Good luck. Wayland is trying to make a one-size-fits-all solution to windowing. Development is slow. 17 years slow? It's older than definitely some people watching. Like, they weren't even alive when development of this thing began. I understand that development can be slow, but at this point it just sounds like we're going nowhere really slowly. It's like AI is going nowhere really fast, this is going nowhere really slow. Well, anyway, thanks for the jank, Linux. You weren't alive when it started, there you go. I don't know. I would like the system that I use to feel nice for the user. Can't say that about Linux. Again, is it kind of a niche situation to be playing a game that doesn't have the best actually it's funny because if the game really does have a Linux native build, that means because it has a native build, it's less nice to play than a Proton build. Because I'm pretty sure I've never had this issue with Proton games besides Uplink. So, and Uplink might even have a Linux build. So I genuinely wonder if with Proton, Steam is actually doing stuff to prevent these issues from happening. Thus, then again, showing that you can not this, that you can in fact do this properly if you try for more than 5 minutes. 2001. So I was wrong about 2002 or 6. It was 1. It's on Windows, Linux, Mac, Mac OS 10, iOS, and Android. It's on iOS? I'm not seeing it. I'm getting a lot of like smart home shitty apps that have names similar to Uplink, but not the actual game itself. Come to think of it, the reason this happens might be because they have a Linux build. That actually makes the entire thing funnier, because the entire reason that these two games are breaking my entire setup is because they are trying to be compatible with it. And it's just that difficult to do it right. Yep. Well, I don't think I've ever seen the penguin icon here. But this is technically Linux. Although it's SteamOS, which is a Linux distro, and based off of Arch, which is another Linux distro, so. I'm not sure if that officially counts as a Linux native build, but yeah. Damn. Yeah, it's actually really funny that Linux native builds is just worse than the Windows build running in compatibility mode. Highlights my point. The way of doing this is wrong. Maybe, okay, maybe you don't put it in the kernel, but for the love of God, someone at some point in the Linux development cycle needs to be aware that Windows and desktops and user interfaces exist. We need to tell them about it. I don't care if it's in the kernel, or if it's a standard that gets created, or if we actually use Wayland, or if we, I don't know, but somebody needs to know about this. They need to be they need to understand that Windows exist. Linux built by developers that probably don't know Linux well, sure. Although I feel like a lot of old games tend to have more native Windows builds. Linux builds. I saw it in Doom, for example. Like the source code of Doom that's out there is the Linux version of it. The Windows version they couldn't release because of licensing issues with a part of it, and I'm not sure if there was ever a Mac build. Uplink, a bunch of other games that I've heard of have Linux native builds. Nowadays it's less common. Not sure what the deal is with that. I don't know that. I do think the problem is the design of Linux and Windows protocols, because why does it require this in-depth knowledge about Linux to do it right? Why is it so easy to make a Linux build of something that breaks someone's system like that? It feels to me like it's just a poorly designed system, if that's the case. Like, if this happened 20 years ago, I'd be like, okay, there's not that much adoption, but like, people are genuinely trying to make Linux as a big operating system happen. But there's nothing besides bickering about X11 or Wayland to solve these kinds of issues. Yeah, the Win32 API, I haven't used it. I do hear it's not great. But again, it has a little bit more control over it. The system has a little bit more control of um, what it does. It would be difficult to launch a project that can run on all hi Leo, on all Linux distros, which is again kind of really why I said I wanted in the kernel. It's not that it needs to be a kernel level feature. It's that if you put it on the one place that they all share, which is the kernel. Also, the fact that besides the kernel itself, literally everything else around Linux is controversial. X11, Wayland, System D, System C, System E, F, G, all of them. What else? GNOME, KDE. I'm literally naming anything that I know is related to Linux, and I know that it's controversial. People will have some strong opinions. Capital S, capital O. Strong opinions about all of those things. i3, probably also, yes. Hyperland. Yeah. I feel like maybe libc implementations are less controversial because they are standardized, but I hadn't thought about even that one. Although, to be fair, the issue is there too. You can't do windowing on libc or C++. Most programming languages don't even natively know what a window is. Some do. For example, Swift knows, because it is an operating system made by Apple to run inside of their ecosystem, and also because it is open source, it runs on Linux and Windows as well. Wayland on Arch Linux, you're not seeing issues. It's, yeah. The thing is that I'm seeing issues. You're not seeing issues, but maybe you'll see issues that I don't. And the underlying issue to me is the fact that the system, right? So call it the kernel or the operating system or the whatever you want to call it, does not know what a UI really is. Everything is so open to interpretation that it just so happens that Ubuntu and a lot of other distros ship with a really shitty desktop environment and a really shitty Windows system that allows it to break so easily, which is why I'm having issues. You don't have that issue on Arch Linux, sure, but kind of the same thing goes for a lot of other things. Does the Windows kernel even know what a UI? Okay, keep in mind, the thing is that maybe me using the word kernel wasn't... Again, I use the word kernel largely because the Linux kernel is the one thing that all... What a horrible color scheme I got going on right now. What the hell? The Linux kernel is the only thing that I know absolutely all distros share, by definition, obviously, because otherwise it wouldn't be Linux distros. Like, you have the kernel and then you have the operating system around it. And then you have, you know, like a bunch of stuff running on top of it and whatnot. Well, I'm just saying this. What the hell is that? This needs to know what a window is. And it should be the same as for all Linux distros. I don't care if it's in the kernel, or I don't care if it's not, but like, again, at some point, the system, capital S system, should know that there is something called a window that a lot of people use. There is something called a user interface that a lot of people use. And that sometimes things can go wrong there. And it needs to be able to help the user in that case. I don't know if it's the kernel. I don't know if it's the system. Again, usually it is controversial to try to standardize anything outside of the kernel itself in Linux, even systemd, which is, I believe, probably the most shared thing between all distros. Even then is not 100% all of them have it, and a lot of people hate it for reasons that are just old man yells at cloud or nerd yells at computer. And what I'm saying is they should do the same thing for Windows, which is just gonna make it definitely never gonna happen, which is also why I don't like Linux pretty much. That's the thing. I'm just complaining about Linux. I'm not actually providing solutions because I know that any solutions would not work. Pretty much. Yeah, systemd is the init process, but it isn't the same. It's not used by all distros. There are alternatives to it. For almost all modern... Okay, hold on. Don't ask the Clanker about this. We don't want their opinion. But it is true, because Wikipedia is not using the same wording, so now I'm kind of complaining a little bit, but it is used by a lot of distros, maybe most, but not all. ls, cat, and grep, yeah. They're POSIX. They're part of the POSIX standard. I assume they're also not necessarily required to be a Linux distro, and they're not implemented by Linux, but you are right. They're actually not even controversial. I'm probably the only person that has ever complained about them. As always, I'm also having a nerdy yells at computer moment whenever I complain about Linux. grep is in PowerShell? Yeah, the thing is that, yeah, it doesn't mean that it's exclusive to Linux. It means that it's, you can find it in almost every Linux distro. Is there a single Linux distro that doesn't have... See what I mean? When anything that you try to standardize outside of the kernel itself is going to lead to issues. I really wish I had that thing that Zozing does to zoom in, because it's so much less awkward than this shit. But, yeah. Evil system D. For the love of God, it's an init process. How evil can it possibly be? What are you talking about? What was the button that I just clicked? Okay, I misread that chat where you're talking about curl and saying that it's a wrapper around invoke web request. And I was so confused as to why ls grep or cat invoke web request. I was like, is Windows really that React pilled? Is it that horrible? But no, I read that wrong. You're talking about curl. Yeah, the POSIX standard requires you to implement them, but you can technically do them slightly differently. They have a bunch of standard options, but then you can still build on top of it. That's very common, so why can't we do that? But also, like, can we have a Linux standard? Can we have a can we standardize Linux a little bit more so that no matter what distro I use, it works, and so that if I install a distro, I don't have issues? Can we do that? The answer is no. But wouldn't it be nice if we could do that? Standardized user command line and scripting interface. So yeah, you have that standardized by the POSIX standard. Alright, so I'm gonna switch it. Can we get a new standard over POSIX? If you want to keep the janky, stinky 1988 standard, keep it. But can you expand it to also include modern system features, such as windowing? Please? And if somebody doesn't want to do that because they are a CLI only distro, then oh well, it's fine. You don't adhere to POSIX. You don't adhere to POSUI, but you adhere to POSIX. I don't know. Just please, for the love of God, don't make me want to switch distros every 5 seconds because everything constantly breaks. Because I could switch to another distro, but like... POSUI. You could switch to another distro, but then I'm gonna have other issues. Because there's a lot of other things where this happens. And I wouldn't be surprised if Linux native builds for games work even worse. So, yeah, again, can we please just get a little bit more of a standard? Or can we update the standard to move past Unix? Unix is dead. Unix died. I'm sorry, but it died. It is not time to make my own Linux distro. It's time to continue making my own operating system. Because even the kernel, I don't like. I don't like POSIX at all. I like it as a user. I hate the idea of it as a developer. As a kernel developer, I considered it for about 5 minutes once. AAA studios intentionally don't put that much effort into Linux native builds. Oh yeah, I can't think of a single AAA game that has a Linux native build. I'm talking about more niche games. I'm not sure if Uplink was super successful way back in the day, but it definitely isn't AAA. It was made by like it was called, what was it called? Introvert Games, Introversion Software. What a name. Introversion Software. Yeah, that doesn't really scream AAA game to me. Don't think they have unending cutscenes and the plainest fucking linear story in an open world game you've ever seen. This game in particular doesn't have a story at all, actually. Indie games are probably, yeah. Because in indie games, you have a lot more control over what technologies you use. Also, pretty much any. As a matter of fact, I would be surprised to hear that a lot of AAA companies use Windows in the first place. I wouldn't bat an eye if you told me that they all just use Mac. What little I know, they use Mac. But I mean, they probably use Windows to some level, but like Mac is just so much better than Windows when it comes to it. And again, it goes Mac, Linux, Windows. Way down here. Hold on. I'm gonna go to my downstairs neighbor's house real quick to say Windows. Actually, no. Basement. Also, Proton may add performance overhead, but I cannot say I've ever had any issues because of Proton itself. I barely ever have issues with games. And most of the times, whenever a game gets optimized, like a new game releases and it has really bad performance and then it gets optimized, they're focusing on Windows. And it works great on Linux as well. Again, until it's a Linux native build. Yeah, Hackintosh is not the same as Mac. Not even a little bit. Okay, wait, you ran it in user space? You can do that? Shocking, surprising, interesting. I'm surprised nobody's doing like an open source macOS copy. I'm surprised no one's doing that. I've heard of a couple places where they're doing like old Windows versions. I'm surprised nobody's doing like OS 10 revival projects or some shit like that. I don't know how that works with licensing, but I'm surprised. I've repaired iPad, not iPhone, and Mac. I don't see the problem. Yeah, you need special screwdrivers, that's about it. Oh, and the iPad actually you have to go through the screen. That part is a little annoying. But for MacBooks, I've literally never seen the problem. Don't worry though, Apple, my warranty. Because it was a friend's laptop, not mine. Yep. It's not like it has warranty anyway, but it doesn't matter. Okay, what am I doing today? Complaining more about Linux. Let's fucking go. That is operating system development. It's just fucking complaining about Linux the whole time. If you can't beat them, read them to filth. Oh, Apple protocol. Okay. Yeah, if you're doing it in a retail environment, I wouldn't know. I familiar with the back alley. That sounds weird. Okay, what am I actually doing today? So, yesterday, okay, yes. So, first off, I'm pulling changes. I'm working with GitHub and Codeberg right now, So in some repositories, I have um, two remotes, and it's so hard to keep track sometimes. Because git pull and git push don't automatically push to both. And also git push all doesn't mean push to all remotes. It means push all branches. So yeah, it's a bit hard to keep track sometimes. Uh, already up to date. I don't know about that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so yesterday I did two things. The first one didn't work out, and I ended up reverting my changes, even though I kind of shouldn't have. Which is that since I added being able to display structured data in my terminal, I added it to the system monitor, but I half got it to work on stream, and then no, the bullshit bug was completely unrelated. I was gonna say there was some ridiculous bug. No, that happened later. Essentially, it wasn't fully working, and I had been working on the terminal for like 3 weeks or so, and having the most ridiculous bugs. So I just went, okay, the second I encounter any kind of resistance, I'm just going to move on. So I did that, but eventually I got it working. So the big thing I needed to do is that kernel processes can have a virtual file system that powers this entire thing. And now I haven't actually implemented it, but all the things should be there for the system monitor to be able to display data in a structured manner. Ideally in a table. I don't have table support yet. Right now I can only show one entry of data, one document, as I've been calling it. But yeah, table support needs to happen. When this didn't work yesterday, I started working on my fuck off. I started working on my code editor. And I added, it's gone now, but I added a feature to be able to select projects and files. There's currently no project open, so this is empty. But you can open a project and open a file. Did I go inside a folder? I think I went inside .git instead of main.c. I'm not sure what I did there. Anyway, yeah, up here I used to show the name of the file, but this was causing issues with the cursor. That is that little thing there. I believe I fixed them. Although I'm seeing that I fixed them on my laptop and haven't pulled the changes. Oh my god, working on two machines is the fucking worst. No, it's not up to date. Oh my god. Hold on. Gotta synchronize everything manually. I was pretty sure. Oh no, I probably did make the changes and just need to rebuild maybe? I don't know. Which PC do you use for the... I just use my gaming PC right now, and also sometimes my laptop. Yeah, that cursor is not aligned with the text. I fixed this yesterday. Why is it not fixed? And today I want to work a little bit more on the UI library. There's a few things I want to do with it. Alright, so I found an issue with it, which I'll get into in a second. Then I fixed the cursor by doing this. Then I also Oh, the change is probably here. No. Okay, so this should have been fixed, but it's not. Having a hard time keeping track of what I did on my laptop, what I did on here, and what issues I am having. Okay, so this is old. It says I have 4 changes to pull, and then it says up to date. How is it up to date if I have 4 changes to pull? I swear to God, Git is gonna drive me crazy. Alright. There we go. Alright, so yeah, let's see if it's fixed now. No, it doesn't look like it's fixed. This is hell. This is development hell. Working with multiple projects on multiple machines is a pain in the ass. Alright. So the cursor is... Okay, that's more accurate though. That is actually sticking to mostly where it should, but it's not really. It sometimes aligns with the text, sometimes doesn't. Okay. So anyway, that's the name of the file there. The cursor is now aligned to the correct size of the window. Except the size of the window is wrong. Which I can maybe do something about, but I mean, I need to fix it. I need to fix that. So I want to work on the UI library a little bit. First off, it's the cursor thing. I already fixed that. Technically it works, although it doesn't perfectly align with each line of code or each line of text. So maybe I still need to do a little bit more of that. But it's better than it was when it was super broken before. And the cursor would be on one line, but in reality was in the next line. That's not happening anymore, so that's good. But one thing I did notice that is happening is the layout of this code editor. It works fine so long as it only has one item in it. It takes up the entire screen. But the problem is that it kind of calculates layout for the windows inside of it. And this window is set to fill, so take up as much space as possible. The problem is that it is inside of this vertical stack alongside this. And then the layout engine is like, okay, you have 2 items inside of you, and we're gonna give them half the screen to each. So that's why it gets as maximum half of the screen in size. So that's something I need to fix. This one takes up only a little bit of size because it has a sizing rule called fit, so it fits to its own contents. But this one is like, okay, maximum size, half the window, or half the parent. So I'll need to do something about it. I'm just not entirely sure how that would work. Temperature in Spain today is the first like really hot day, but not too much. Not too bad. We're talking maybe 30. No, 28 right now. The sun's already gone down. Kind of. It's in the process. It's working on it. 28, a breezy 28 today. I have to say I find it really funny that UK is in a heat wave of peak 29. Because again, that's like our minimum today. What is the minimum? Minimum 19, maximum 31. Yeah, this is just like enjoy it while it lasts type of weather here. And it's well, it's annoying. Maybe I need to move to the UK for the summer, and then move back to cure the seasonal depression. It literally rains all the time. Alright, how do I fix this issue? Okay, that's one thing I want to do. I want to fix this library a little bit. And then, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this, but I want to explore the possibility of having this UI library render to a different backend than pixels on the screen, such as terminal. So text rendering. Right now I have very, very basic rendering, essentially just rectangles, and you can actually see it. We draw text, or we draw rectangles, which is perfect for the terminal. So if I'm ever going to be able to have a different backend in the same UI library, it's going to be now. I think that would be really cool to have. So I'm gonna give it a try. Maybe. I guess we'll see. Yeah, we don't really have AC either. I mean, some houses do. A lot don't. It's not great. But yeah, UK houses are probably more prepared for the cold than they are for the warmth. So, you know the problem? It feels like our houses are prepared for neither. Oh. You're indoors? Sucks. You're outdoors? Sucks. You're on the subway or a bus? They don't know what an AC is. You would think these drivers are paying for it themselves. It never works. They never have it on. Oh, I've heard of the paper walls in the US. It genuinely feels like they're building houses out of paper. Like cardboard. Drywall? Isn't drywall... What is drywall? Because it feels like literal cardboard. Calcium, plasterboard, dry lining, wallboard, sheetrock. Rock is a strong word. Unlike drywall. Slabboard is more accurate. Calcium sulfate dehydrate. Typically extruded between thick sheets of facer and backer paper. Yeah, drywall between rooms makes sense. It's not great. But like, drywall between rooms, it's sometimes an understandable choice. Especially if it's like a little improvised room or something. Drywall everywhere is a choice. Like whenever I see videos of Americans punching the wall and punching a hole through it, I'm like, what the hell? How is that possible? Also, why are you punching walls so much? I've seen several videos like that. Okay, this is the layout. This is the layout code. So I already had to modify it a little bit to fix the cursor, because the cursor had absolute sizing, because it kind of just like manually tracks where the cursor is. It's very unoptimized. But it kind of wasn't adhering to the boundaries of the parent view, which, I mean, the word absolute would make you feel like maybe it wouldn't, but it should in this case. So maybe I'll rename it eventually to something else, but this works as I expect it to. But here's the deal. View percentage. When a view uses when a view tries to fill as much space as possible, or when it does anything else besides specify a percentage of the parent view that it takes up, it's just given a slice of the parent view based on the total size and the total number of children. So if this is the... Why are you lagging? If this is the parent view and it has 3 children, it just divides itself in 3. Thank you for that. Divides itself in 3. They're supposed to be equal parts, but they're not. And then this is the maximum size that each of the views can have. Relative views work like this. Say that it wants 5%, then it gets only 5%. But the second view is only given still a third. So I need to make this system a little smarter. I'm not sure how, to be honest. Maybe it should look at what other children do. Although, wait, hold on. I think I was a little bit cleverer than that. Yeah, here it is. Okay, I was a little bit cleverer than that. Okay, cool. So, I feel like I'm getting allergies to my nose. I'm starting to get itchy. That's annoying. I've been fine all day. Now that I have to get on stream. Alright, so, yeah, this is trying to divide views based on percentage, but it's only looking at views that have a relative sizing. So those that specify, I want 10% of the parent view. And so it looks at the remaining percentage, and then whatever isn't taken up by the parent is given to the... Okay, so there is an easy fix for this. Or at least I would think. Oh no, okay. Take away the percentage of every child that doesn't use the auto size. I'm not sure how it should work. The thing is that if this view... See, this whole issue would go away if I just did this. If I could find the code that I'm looking at here. Alright, so I give the label, so the little name of the... Everything's lagging, what's happening? Camera looks smooth, 60 FPS on OBS, but the Z and the browser are lagging. Alright, so I don't think I need the browser right now, so I'm just gonna close it. Try to save some system memory. Right, if I set the label, the name of the file, to... say taking up 10%, 0.1, this whole thing will be gone, because the remaining 90% is given to the rest of the children. There's only one, so it gets the entire 90%. But, yeah, it makes it gigantic, which doesn't make any sense. But you see that it works. It works perfectly fine. Although there is a scrolling issue. Yeah, everything's super slow. What is... Alright, I'll take a look at this. There's an ad running, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, there's literally nothing running on my system taking up more than 500 megabytes, which is crazy. Especially, it makes a lot more sense once you realize that I already closed Firefox. But yeah, not sure why everything was lagging just now. Hopefully it's better. Anyway, um, yeah, if I give this a relative sizing, then it's fine. But I think what I need to do is I need to be a little bit more clever about how I calculate sizes of windows. I need to do it in 2 stages. I'm technically already doing 2 passes, right? We just saw that. First, I go through all the children. I find the one that have relative sizing, because then I can very, very easily... Mangy ass dog. Very, very easily calculate how much space they leave for the rest of us. But I could technically do a little bit more when it comes to other types of views, such as already do the calculation within here, so I can skip it later. But also, any view that has an explicit size, calculate it first inside of this loop. Then here, only do the ones that expect to be filled to take up as much space as possible. Once all the other ones are calculated, then I already know you take up this much space, you take up this much space, which is explicit, and then the rest of you fight over the remaining amount of space. I'm not working on any videos right now, no. What is up, my guy? Alright. Got distracted a little bit. Okay, maybe in the process I can clean up this code a little bit. No, it seems like no more lag happening. Again, FPS is fine on OBS, so we're good. Okay, so we're going through all the children of the current view. We're getting its node, given it a doc layout, which is used to all right, hold on. I did add this. Oh. Don't be like that. I'm wearing black. I need to stop wearing black when I'm streaming if I'm gonna be doing this, because yeah, he sheds a lot, and then it's like really hard to get off. Okay, so Jester, listen. We're going through all the children, yeah? We're then using this little doc layout thing, which just helps us lay out views. It's just a little helper struct like that. We're giving them the parents' view, but then choosing how it works. Assigning them a specific percentage. So this is fine. But again, we have here specific things for when we're fitting. Okay, so let me see something. Right. This code is for when the size rule is set to fit, which I'm again looking to move over here. So I'm going to comment it out. Comment this out real quick. This code is not going to compile, but who cares? I'm just seeing something real quick. Also going to comment that out. What are you doing, buddy? All of a sudden, the code becomes a lot cleaner. Right, so that is the actual layout code. Everything else is specific to rules. So I'm gonna have to clean this up a little bit. Right, so what are we doing? We're creating this new layout for you. We're telling you how much size of the view you're going to take. And then, based on whether the current layout direction is horizontal or vertical, because that's what the vertical thing from before shows, this. It just starts a vertical stack or horizontal stack. There's also a depth stack, but that one's kind of not doing a whole lot. TBH. So yeah, so good so far? Yeah, you get it? Understand everything? Cool. Alright, it's like rubber ducking, but it stinks a little bit. Where was I? Okay, yeah, you set either the width or the height of the new window. The maximum width or height of the new window, because again, the point is they can calculate it. Then you run this layout node function to actually do the layout of the child. This is where we do calculations and whatnot. I don't think we'll need to run this for relative or normal views. I don't think this is going to be necessary. I think this is all we need to keep inside of this loop, and the rest can go into this loop. I think, anyway. Maybe. Oh, careful! You're gonna fall. Clumsy ass. Dog level language DLL. Okay, so this is actually laying out the child. And then if it's horizontal, it increases. Yep. Again, this is not something we care about. Then it does this. It's not something we care about. Okay. So again, the code that's left over is actually very, very simple. You good? You're good. And this is the relevant part of the of this function, which is used by the fit, where a view fits to the size of its children. Eventually, everything just renders as text. The lowest level of all of this is literally just text. There's nothing else besides text. It's all text and rectangles. So, this is what calculates the size of the text, and then is really what matters from here. Yeah. Why should I use Claude at all? Like, the tech industry has just become one big advertisement for AI. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, I wonder if you could teach a dog a programming. It would do better than Claude, I can tell you that much. Nah. There's a TikTok that they taught their dog how to speak using buttons. It's all very fake, you know. The dog doesn't really know what it's saying. It just knows what buttons to press to get treats from them, essentially. Sound familiar? Doesn't really know what it's saying, just knows what to do next. I'm sorry for comparing you to Claude Jester, but you're smart in your own way. You're just not a programmer, and it's fine. Yep, it's fine. All right, you're Also censoring your face there with the microphone, buddy. I'm scared to start moving code around. Hit me. Alright, so. Turning the combination that gets the tree. That's how it, yeah. There is that one TikTok that I've seen. They did it with like one of those big dogs. It's like a husky type. Probably not a husky, but like similar to that. And a bunch of buttons. And they claim that, oh, you can teach your dog to speak with those buttons, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure they're actually advertising. Malamute? Might be. I'm a little scared to open Firefox. Yeah, it might have been. How much clearer do I have to make it? You are likely thinking of famous TikTok accounts where Alaskan Malamutes use custom soundboards with recorded buttons to talk with sentences. I am, in fact, thinking of that. Would you mind explaining why your search engine doesn't fucking understand that? I'm not gonna open any of these videos because TikTok content tends to have music in it. I don't want to risk it. And once again, I do envy TikTok live streamers because they get to play music. Why is everything in English but then not? I don't know. By the way, today, Google gave me results in Catalan. Catalan is a language spoken here. Also here. Also here. I live here. Not here, not here, not here. I do understand the language, but I do not speak it. It is not spoken in my region. It is not spoken in the vicinities of my region. And yet the Google search, I searched something in Spanish, mind you. The Google AI overview started speaking to me in Catalan. Like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? It makes no sense. Also, I'm pretty sure that probably made some, like, nationalistic idiots very, very, very mad if it happened to them. So, hey, I'm hoping that happened. I just found it funny. It shows you German results in the Netherlands. Yeah, it just keeps getting worse. And they're gonna get rid of Google, but hey, don't worry, the replacement doesn't fucking work either. So you'll feel right at home. It's fucking great. I am so tired of the AI industry. I want the tech industry back. Also, another thing. Yesterday I found out that I went through a very small rabbit hole. I didn't go through it nearly as much. But there's these events in cybersecurity called Capture the Flags, which are, little. You essentially have to find some sort of hidden message or something in a system. There's puzzles, cryptography, vulnerabilities, pen testing, the usual that comes with cybersecurity. It's just cybersecurity puzzles done for entertainment. It is an entertainment and learning activity. Although, to be fair, whenever these are done at like conferences like DEF CON, yeah, there's usually recruiters there from some pretty big organizations. They will look at the best performers and they will go and talk to them. So, yeah, there's networking involved, the human connection networking, not the not the computer networking. Just to be clear, just so we're all on the same page. But yeah, these are an entertainment activity, right? Even though you can do it, it leads to, well, yeah, there's actually both types of networking involved. But the type I'm talking about is like you the connection that you form with people, especially when it comes to like professional environments. But it is an entertainment activity. You do it for entertainment. And I saw someone yesterday that led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole complaining on Twitter about the fact that they wanted to participate in CTFs, but they're pretty much ruined by AI. And I do follow a guy that talks a lot about cybersecurity on YouTube, and he does seem to have fully gone down the AI rabbit hole. But I thought it was just a one person thing. Apparently, it seems like, again, as an outsider who looked into this for like 10 minutes, it looks like now the general consensus is that CTFs should be solved with AI. That there's no real point to doing them without AI. The entertainment activity needs to be done with AI. Because there's no real point to doing it without it. Now, do I believe that AI can do cybersecurity really well? Can I be so fucking for real right now? No. I think that a broken clock is right twice a day, and maybe it is. The thing is that right now what we have about that is, yeah, a few patches and vulnerabilities have been discovered. It's definitely something happening right now because a lot of stuff is happening very quickly. But does that mean that AI is really good at this? I'm kind of reluctant to giving them the benefit of the doubt because every time that we've given AI the benefit of the doubt, they've let us down. So I mean, they've let me down. Usually the tech industry just gobbles up whatever lie they say without ever questioning it. But to me, it feels like you're gonna have to really prove that your AI is really good at cybersecurity. Because even though they find vulnerabilities in certain open source libraries where people haven't found those vulnerabilities in a while, and those open source libraries have a lot of security put in them, the truth is they find 20 fake positives and one real positive. That's not finding vulnerabilities. That's just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And again, I would be less reluctant to give them the benefit of the doubt if they hadn't lied about literally everything else so far. I guess I have a backbone, unlike literally every content creator I have seen talking about this thing. But yeah, maybe AI can be used for cybersecurity. And maybe you are working in a very high risk environment if you work in this field. Because if you don't use the best tools available to you to secure your code, secure your infrastructure, secure whatever you work on, hackers will use those tools not to secure it but to exploit it. So yeah, it makes sense. Does that mean that CTFs should be also taken over by AI? No. No, fuck no. They should not be. They're an entertainment thing. People do that for learning. They do it for fun. They do it as a competition. There are prizes. There are, again, like networking involved. If you go to DEF CON and you do really well, you'll probably get approached by a bunch of people that are interested in hiring you and giving you money in one way or another. But, like, you won't. You want to enjoy the damn thing that you're doing. You're doing it recreationally. You're doing something recreationally. And this general consensus, at least, again, as an outsider, seems to be, oh, we should just let AI do it. What is happening? Like, in the world of chess, AI has been beating chess masters, the best in the world, literally the best chess players in the world, for decades, probably. I don't know when it first started, but definitely a 2000s thing. But we've been trying for a really long time. But it's been for a while. 90s even? I don't know. But it's been a while. Either way. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I don't know. It's been a while that AI has been at the same level or better than chess players. And yet people continue to play chess because they're not fucking brain rotted by the damn thing and they understand that this recreational activity you can still do for recreation. It's like, I mean, why would I play video games when there's actually like people that are so much better at it than me? Like, I'm not doing esports, so why should I play League of Legends? The answer is you shouldn't play League of Legends. It's just the first thing that came to mind. But yeah, you do certain things because you enjoy them. And while maybe in a professional setting, using AI might work, again, huge fucking doubts on that. But maybe I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you genuinely do not deserve and should never be given. But when it comes to recreation, we shouldn't be doing this. Like a beginner that wants to enter the field of cybersecurity and wants to participate in CTFs, and it's like, oh, you will never win because everyone's just using AI. It's entertainment. You're doing it for fun and for learning. You're not doing either of those things when you're just telling the AI, hey, find, exploit. It's probably a little bit more complex than I should fucking hope it's more complex than that. But it would be really funny if you just tell, hey, Mythos, break this code base. Mythos, hack this guy's computer. Very good autocomplete can find basic security mistakes, which is huge for small software shops, junior developers basically. I mean, a really good static analysis tool can do it. A decent static analysis tool can do it. The thing is, to be fair, to be fully fair, certain libraries that are well known to have good tests, good practices, good static analysis, fuzzers, bunch of tools that are already made to automate this pre-AI have had vulnerabilities found by these AIs. But they've also had, by the same AIs, fake vulnerabilities found. I remember curl, for example. Curl probably has a ton of testing and security. And they said that out of all the pull requests that were opened by, I believe it was Mythos, one of them was a vulnerability, one was a bug, the rest were false positives. Again, a broken clock is right twice a day. And again, Anthropic and OpenAI, but really all AI companies, lie all the fucking time about their capabilities. And Mythos in particular has this huge red flag of, oh, we can't release it, it's too dangerous. It might flood open source with false pull requests, pretty much, but whatever. Mythos mocked that guy. I'm gonna start saying that. So yeah, regardless of whether or not they can do it. Okay. But do we need to bring it into the entertainment field? I don't know. I don't see the point. The thing they said about Mythos being too dangerous... I have to say, lately I've been fixated on hating tech influencers because of the way that they just always believe the shit. Now, I have to say several tech influencers have actually brought up this exact thing about ChatGPT 2, comparing it to Mythos. But then they still come to the conclusion that, oh, cybersecurity is over because of Mythos now. We just believe that, we take that at face value and we run with it. By the way, this video is sponsored by Cursor. And like more and more I've been noticing the absolute lack of a spine and lack of morals and ethics when it comes to tech influencers in listening to AI. Cybersecurity is ramping up in cinema. No, okay. Yes. But I'm talking about FFmpeg, the Linux kernel, curl. I might be making this up. I watched a video about SQLite, just about the history of it recently, and now I feel like I read about SQLite also getting a patch, but I don't think they even accept patches, so that's probably not even true. I think I made that up. If it was SQLite, it's like one of the most secure, tested, checked libraries in the world. It would be crazy. But yeah, it's literally just marketing. They don't accept external patches. To be fair, you can still say, hey, this would fix it, by the way. But yeah, like recently I have been noticing a lot more of the attitudes that big content creators have towards AI. I've always noticed it's kind of been like some things always rub me the wrong way, but lately I've been analyzing it. And it's like, again, #noticing. I've been noticing that shit. It's so blatant and obvious, and this has always been the case. With all influencers, really. But, goddamn. When it comes to AI, it just feels more evil, like inherently. Windows running on the N64? %80 of the test suite is closed source. See, I didn't know that. Yeah, so I watched a video about SQLite, which I already knew a lot of these things, but then I watched this video and then I somehow made up that they received the patch. Even though, again, they literally do not get patches. I learned that I didn't know before. Throaty Mumbo. Oh, I see a lot of videos like these.
We need a cartridge.
Which Windows? You know what? Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Is it this one?
I just wanna see it happen.
Build?
Holy shit.
Menu? Beautiful start menu. So the SD card of the EverDrive is basically our...
Nice. Go back to the code. What's up with the code? Ah, okay. And these types of usages for AI, I understand, even though I feel like we maybe could have gone in a different direction. In terms of architecture, but in terms of usage, I get it. Also, Throaty is an interesting name. Having to unscrew too many screws, brother. How many screws is too many screws? Holy shit, I read that so wrong. The name of the chapter is Progress. I read the prompts and I was like, holy fuck, bro, come on. I feel like this is something that you might want to use AI for. It knows how Windows works. It knows how the N64 works. Probably better than some random blog out there knows about it, which is the best source that you can get. It can bridge the gap a lot. But again, we could have built it better. The current thing is built on tricking the whole world. It's just incredible how so many people have just taken it. And they do get money for it. Also, so many people that don't get money from it, but so many people that do get money from it. But goddamn, it's horrible to see in an industry that I recently started creating content in, but I have been participating in for a really long time. The level that we're at is horrible to see. Like this, again, it's not even a thing necessarily related to tech influencers. Because, like, if you've ever watched any gaming content, tell me if you've ever heard the words, "This video is not sponsored, but they did send me a free copy." That is a sponsor. So, yeah, this kind of shit happens everywhere. But, lying about a game and lying about the future of your industry, slightly different things. One of them feels more evil than the other. Also, you see some absolutely insane shit. Let me put it this way, I've never seen a gaming influencer pray to a game. Never happened. Not that I've seen. Can't say the same for AI. You have? I would love to see that, actually. I need to start moving some code around, even if I'm yapping. Hey, how does this work? Yeah, this is not doing anything. That's kind of a wasted loop I have here. Okay. Over 10 years ago? Oh, I mean like last month. Pretty sure. Oh, I got you. A month ago. Praying to AI is crazy, by the way. I mean, praying about AI is crazy, by the way. But such is the industry. Such are the times that we live in. And this is the current level of discourse. But at least they're getting money. I have to listen to the shit for free. So, yeah, slightly different if you get money for it. Alright, so, if you have a relative or total size, let's call it, fit. Wait, hold on, what rules are there? There's fit, fill, relative, and absolute. Okay. So fit and relative can be calculated, their size can be calculated ahead of time. So I can skip a little bit of calculations here. What is force equal? Okay, so what is even happening right now? If we're doing relative or fit sizing, then yeah, we have this remaining percentage that is not very accurate. That is not how I want to be doing this. Yeah, that is actually like a really, really stupid thing to do. Alright, so I'm gonna refactor this entire code. I'm gonna break it a little bit, but that's fine. Total or remaining is fine. Remaining size. This is going to be the total size of the parent. No, what the hell am I doing? No. It's this value. Break it a little. Nah, promise it's gonna work. I'm essentially just rewriting it by keeping the old code here. Alright, at this point the layout. Okay, so this is not the new layout, this is the layout. We don't have a new layout yet. No, hold on. Yeah, this is supposed to be like this. Okay. Remaining size is gonna be, it's gonna start out as being the entire parent view. Alright, so we're going to, yeah, we're gonna have to have slightly different logic here. But when we have a relative sizing, the remaining size is reduced by the percentage of this view. So this is where we use the floor this times percentage. It's kind of going monolith approach for the kernel. Microkernel is a better architecture in my opinion. I would prefer it, but it's not that easy to build. It is slower. But I also am working a lot on like the file system providing a lot of services and building as much as possible in user space, though I haven't been too good at that historically. So I feel like there's a name for when it's like in between. Micro macro kernel, a micro monolith, a small monolith. I don't know. Hybrid. No, I feel like it has an actual name. Let me see if the OS Dev Wiki. I haven't been to this website in a long time. They should have a section on architecture. Modular kernel? No, that's not it. Oh, yeah, well, no. No. Never mind. Yeah, no, it doesn't have it. At least not there. I don't care too much. Alright, so when we have relative sizing, the size that we take up is this one here. And we need to tell the view to lay itself out based on, okay, first off, where was this layout used? Oh, for the forced new line. I was checking out the forced new line here. That might be relevant. Although I barely even look at it. Yeah, microkernel does require planning ahead. It can end up cleaner but less performant because everything's so decoupled. It's gonna be some synchronization happening. Okay, so yeah, just store the layout in case I need it. But for now, just this is the size that you're gonna use, and you're gonna lay yourself out with that. That's it. But I do need this this if statement based on this alloced size. Another thing is maybe let's put some bounds checking that if your percentage is less than 0 or your percentage is bigger than 0, then you are going to do nothing. Fuck you. Shouldn't have done that. And likewise, if your allocated size is smaller than the remaining size, then we're gonna be generous and give you the remaining size, but you don't get much else. Right, so if your view takes up 90% of the screen, but 90% has already been given to someone else, then you get what's left. And everyone else will probably get nothing, so that already sucks, but oh well. Alright, then this part really sucks. I have to do this if statement to give you your maximum width or height. It depends, because you're limited on one stack but not the other. Well, no, that's stupid. Why are you limited on only one but not the other? You should be limited on both. Which means that sadly I do need the brackets. Your width is going to be the... Oh no, it's already doing it implicitly. Right, because new layout is copied from the layout of the parent. So I'm modifying the width, but the height stays the same. I'm modifying the height, but the width stays the same. Alright. Another thing is here, if remaining size is less or equal to 0, then you're just going to break out of this loop. Because there's no more space to lay out any more children after this. Alright. So again, you're going to lay yourself out like that. And then that is for these two views. The one that decides its own size and the one that decides its own... Pretty sure I'm going to need this. Not sure what I'm doing. Hey, next. 3DS had a microkernel? Interesting. They re-implemented it like a full re-implementation for the Switch? Switch and Switch 2 probably do share a code base, considering they have like compatibility between their two games and whatnot. It would be the smart choice. But yeah, 3DS to Switch makes sense to rewrite. It is completely different and also several years later. Okay, I'm not sure what to do with the result. So since this is technically a rewrite, I guess, yeah. But I do care about this. Okay. I don't really care about the result itself. I care about the child. Info rect size. When a view is supposed to... No, this is for the child. It does its own layout here. I don't need to worry about that. It is going to determine its own size. Yeah. And after it's done determining its own size, given the maximum layout that it has, I also need to do these calculations, not this one. How much space you're given. Maximum is... Eesh, that's wrong. Width is wrong. I'm going to need to simplify code a little bit here. I'm going to start writing some helpers. Layout get size for a GPU rectangle based on the layout direction. Because sometimes it's vertical, sometimes it's horizontal, you give different values. That's a doc layout type. If the direction is horizontal, you return the rect size width. If the direction is vertical, you return the height. Otherwise, you return nothing. There is another option, which is depth. In which case, none of this really matters. I'm not sure how I'm handling that case, but oh well. Okay, so that should make this code a little simpler. I should make this code a little simpler. Wait. Direct is what was there before. Layout canvas. Layout.canvas. Okay, so maybe I can pass this layout object directly. That would be smarter. And this is called canvas. Damn it. Allergies. So annoying. Alright. Okay, so this force equal thing can go. Alright, so we have a remaining size. You calculate how much size you want when you're doing a percentage, not based off the width, but the total size. You're supposed to take up a percentage of the total size. That is how much size you want. If that's less than the remaining size, that's supposed to be the other way around. If the remaining size is less than what you're requesting, then you're given the remaining size. Otherwise, it was always going to be true. Okay. Then I want to do another similar function, but for setting a size. And now I do need to separate the doc layout types. Direction. Doc layout. Layout. And the size. Based on the direction. You're going to set the layouts either width or height to the size requested. Otherwise, you're going to do nothing. So that is going to replace this kind of ugly if statement here. Set size. The direction being the layout direction, but you're going to store that in the new layout. And the size is going to be the size that we've allocated for it. Then we remove that size from the remaining size and we lay out our node. Cool. Now, maximum size for the current view when we're doing a size fit. Maximum size for that view is the entire remaining size, or the remaining size divided by, yeah, remaining size total. I'm okay with that. No, remaining size. All right, so that is the size that you have, maximum allocated to you. You are going to set that Wait, why am I using i64 here? Okay. You're going to set that like that and like that. You're going to store it in the new layout, and you're going to pass that new layout, which is the maximum size for the node. Then you're going to tell the node to lay itself out. But the size of it, you will take from, after you've done the layout, this is a fit view, which means it has calculated its own size based on the size of its children. So based on the info rect, again, I should have actually broken this down because now I need it separately. Can you see a daemon? I don't know. A demo? Later, right now, this code would not even be close to compiling. Right, so I changed this now. Which means I'm actually only going to call it once with the layout direction and the layout canvas. Then the total size is equal to the remaining size. Or let's make it a little bit cleaner by doing it the other way around. The remaining size starts out as the total size. Then, okay, based on this value, you're going to layout get size for the child after it has decided its own size. Which it's going to do in here. You're going to get that value, and that is going to give you how much it actually takes up. Which gives you the remaining size. And at this point, nodes that have a fixed size have already laid themselves out. We now need to deal with nodes that have a sizing rule of fill. So first off, check that the remaining size is smaller or equal to 0. Then you're going to break out of this because there's nothing we can do for you. Then, how much percentage you want. There's no need to calculate a percentage. Now, between all the views that have fill, they will be given as much space as possible, which is the total number of them divided by the remaining space. And we will set that layout set size based on the layout direction into the new layout by the view size. It is going to lay itself out, and then that is it for this part. But this code here is what the current view uses, so the parent view, to then know where to put the next child and know how to do proper how to calculate its own size in the case that it's one of these. And what is happening there? It's using the layout result, in which it mostly cares about if we have to do a new line or not. It literally doesn't care about anything else besides that, apparently. Yeah, if it's trying to do horizontal and not force a new line, then it will... I'm actually feeling my nose like having a hard time breathing through it. Thanks, allergies. Yeah, if we're doing horizontal and no new line, then the size of the canvas, well, the point of the canvas, which is where the next one will be drawn, goes into offset by the width of the child. And if the current view is supposed to be of size fit, then its size increases from 0 to that of its child. Based on that, and its height, the maximum one of its children, between the current one and the one for the current child. Okay, so this layout makes perfect sense to me, but I'll want to move it into its own helper function. Update layout with child, since the layout is now with child. We are going to update a parent's layout, maybe even the parent itself, with a document node, which is the child. Yeah, we need the node. Update parent. Okay, so layout update parent with child. What a name. What a name. Oh, and you also need a layout result type, which is a doc layout result. And this becomes node. And layout. Oh, it's passed into it. So, okay, also this. I'm pretty much replicating the same arguments as this function, but even worse. So, not really. It's actually, yeah, way worse. Yeah, layout. Now we need to give you a little... Doop. And this, I gave it the wrong type. Okay, so that fixes it. Did I say something about multiple projects when I talked about how I stay motivated on projects? Yes. I said that an operating system project brings you back to always tying everything together. Because, like, I want to do a code editor for my operating system. I want to do a game engine for my operating system. I want to do this for my operating system. So, systems in general tend to have that effect, where they will, you know, be it an operating system, a game engine. I'm having the same thing that I had with the operating system, in which every project that I work on, I can always tie it back to the operating system, which keeps me motivated to work on both. The same thing happens with game engine. Because then anytime I work on a game, I add its features to the game engine, and now I can use them in the next game. So kind of same thing that happens there. All right, is that all the code? I believe it has gotten cleaner. It has gotten better. I don't know what this index is. It's not being used. If Clang was useful, it would have told me that. Num-children is surprisingly not being used. Alright, so quick recap of the entire layout system. We start off in a root node, or really any node that does this calculation, we calculate first offsets. So it has padding, and it has margins and whatnot. Not even necessarily margins, just, a view that is here, its children should also be here. This is exactly why the cursor wasn't working correctly yesterday, by the way, which is why, because the cursor has a size absolute, and I only had this if statement without the else. So essentially we calculate where this node currently begins based on this layout, which is a little helper we have to give us the current constraints, beginning and size. Maximum size usually is what it means. So yeah, we put our origin here, and if instead we have an absolute, we don't listen to that, but we do listen to its parent. Kind of. We do listen to our own point here. It's a little bit weird, I have to say. It's a bit of a very we'll need a little bit of cleaning up this absolute thing. Then, if the current node is actually a layout node, so one that says from now on do horizontal, from now on do vertical, from now on do depth, then we just update the direction, and the rest probably won't matter. Frankly, the rest shouldn't matter. A little bit reluctant to put an end result here, but yeah. No, actually no. Because it has to calculate its children still, never mind. Yeah. If the current rule is to fill the entire view, or if it's relative. Yeah. If it's supposed to fill the entire view, or using a percentage, it is actually given already the size that it's allowed to use inside of this property, so we just assign it. Otherwise, if it's not absolute, well, I'm pretty sure this makes no fucking sense. Which might be also why the, no, not really, because there's no padding. I don't think this makes any sense. So yeah, we include padding. Didn't we already do that? No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Oh, now we use the inner padding. Okay, never mind. Yeah, we do padding calculations, then we go through all of its children. We calculate how much size these children can have. Really, all we're doing here is just getting the correct value from either width or height from here, just based on the current direction. And then the remaining size to give to children, which right now is the total size because we're just beginning. We also calculate how many children have the fill property, so how many of them want to take up as much space as possible. Then we go through the ones that don't want to take up as much space as possible. The first one is relative, which takes up a percentage, so we calculate that. The second one is fit, which takes up as little space as possible. It only takes up the space of its child nodes. So we do their calculations, which are relatively straightforward, and then we update ourselves and continue to the next children. But when we're supposed to do the layout, which by the way, this is missing. Oh, hold on, there. Fill. All right. Yeah, so they calculate their own sizes, or we calculate their sizes in a very straightforward way. Then the rest of the children that are left over, we iterate over them now, and we give them as much space as we can based on what's left over. And with that, we just calculated based on the remaining size divided by how many children want to share that space. Alright, so definitely feels a lot cleaner. Hopefully it works. Everything is completely from scratch, and yeah, using macOS for OS dev is... I do it all the time, yeah. Works pretty well. Alright, I'm a little scared, but let's try to see if this works, and the allergies are getting way worse. So, whether it works or not, I'm gonna take a break and go take an allergy pill. It does not work. Alright, I'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay, I'm back. I ran out of the allergy pills that tasted good. These taste like shit. Also, come in a package of like 5. I really need to understand whose decision it was to sell them in a package of 5. I understand that they can be used for some Breaking Bad related stuff. I understand that from Breaking Bad, so I don't even know if that's true or not. But whose idea was it that the thing that allows me to go outside where there's like dust and pollen and shit should require me to go outside more often to buy more, especially when I run out? Great idea. Although I've barely needed it recently, which is why I'm only taking the second pill since I bought the damn thing, but still. You would think it would minimize the possibilities of you running out and needing to go get more before you've taken one. But, nah, it's not a thing. Anyway. Also, Jester did not shed that much hair today. So, cool. Okay. So, it didn't work. Right, that's where we're at. That is where we're at. Yeah, pack of 7 would make more sense. Maybe I counted that? No. It should be 5. Comes in like those weird pill layouts that are like this. Where it's like 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. I don't understand why they do it like that. Also, another thing, I haven't gotten a doctor to give me a prescription for allergy meds. And I've had this thing happen where I go to a pharmacy and I'm like, I need something for allergies. And they sell me something and it works. So I look at the name of it, and next time I go to a pharmacy, I tell them, "Can you give me this?" And they're like, "Oh, you need a doctor's prescription for that." I'm like, "I just bought that last week without one." Which means that either I'm being sold prescription medicine without a prescription by several different pharmacies, unlikely, or the law is constantly changing which prescription medicines need which medicine needs prescription, also unlikely, or I don't know what the hell is happening. But it's not great. Because at the end of the day, I'm itchy. No, not anymore. But like if I didn't take these pills, I am. Alright. Hello Zero. Easy making a simple OS. It can be. Simple and easy are too relative to say. Suspicious because I said it by the fancy name? I guess that's the most likely possibility. Oh, I'm sorry for trying to buy... I don't even remember the names. I literally just look at the thing and I'm like... Memorize it? Please give me this. No. Okay. Then they give me one that doesn't work. Isn't it normal for people to ask for a specific medicine? Like you're used to it. That literally the thing that I'm doing, it's not like I'm doing anything weird or suspicious. I feel like it's super normal. Okay, I do have this alloced size stuff here, which should tell me how much space has been given to these views. Although, to be fair, the first print is not going to work, the second isn't going to be super accurate, so... This print is going to be more accurate. So according to this... Yep. According to this, my view is in fact being given 1034. But it kind of doesn't feel like it. Unless... Yeah, I messed with these rules here that maybe I shouldn't have messed with. Paracetamol and ibuprofen. Yeah, we usually call them that. But we're very familiar with them. If you gave me a new... If I didn't know what they were and I just read the name on the box, which is different from that one, next time I buy more, I would just call it by that name. I don't feel like it's such a weird thing to do. I didn't even know I had allergies until recently, so... Alright, where are we actually setting the size of the views? That is... it would be really funny if I'm not, and that would explain a lot. Okay, there it is. It is C, yes. There, and also there when it comes to fit. This has been weird because it looks like all the logs are giving me the right math. I would have expected some zeros there. Okay, there's the zeros. That's interesting. Alright, so the view size that the view has been given is this one. Okay, so tell me which direction. One of them should have been set to something. Did I not set this value? That's it. That's not it. That's weird. That's weird. The view size has been chosen as 1034. And the direction. Oh, is it because of the depth view? It's because of the damn depth view. Okay. Yeah. Depth should have like vertical in these cases. Which would actually make this perfect for a switch statement. Oh well. There's no way. Why is it exactly the same as it was before? Now, okay, hold on. Okay, I have a question. I'm surprised it's not giving me an error that this was an unused variable, because it is. Yeah, okay. Alright, so the error that I had was that if I had the label, it would reduce the size of the text. Now, I kind of have the same issue. Just with the depth one, surprisingly. Like everything seems to work fine, but then it kind of doesn't. When you're calculating the size, I'm gonna put an extra print here. Maybe that'll help a little bit. All right. New layout 1, new layout 3. Okay, that's exactly what I expect. Okay, so chosen size 16 and 0. I put that chosen size stuff here specifically, right? Where our that's not 16. Oh, 16 vertical, I guess. No, that's not right. Not sure where that 16 is coming from. But that's not even the problem right now, so it doesn't really matter. Probably does, but not right now. Alright. Then it says given 1060, which means that this guy here, this one, is given a maximum of 1060 pixels. This whole thing. In its width. Okay. And from that, it takes up only a little bit, leaving us with 1034 for everything else. Then we receive a new layout node of type 3, which stands for depth. It's a depth node because we have the cursor and we have the text editor itself. Those are technically two different views.
Damok subscribed to your channel for 4 months.
Overlapping with each other. Damok, thank you for the subscription for 4 months in a row. Okay, so it then says chosen size 0 and 0, which is weird. First off, why 2? Okay, another thing you're gonna do. No, forget about that, forget about that. Alright, starting to understand. Not really. I'm starting to understand that this shouldn't have been here, actually. When it comes to a depth view, you get the entire... Oh, okay. Yeah, that's more accurate. Okay, so there is a problem here when scrolling. I'll have to look into that in a second. And also, there is the cursor putting itself in the wrong place. First off, this code can be a lot cleaner if I just do this. But then, I do wonder, what did I do to deserve this? I added this extra rule, which yesterday fixed the cursor, but now it's back to being broken. But at least everything is more correct now, which is good. Essentially, the absolute node, which is the cursor, is supposed to use the size of its parent, same as everyone else is doing. I mean, maybe now it's okay to just do this. But it's kind of weird that it isn't doing that. Yeah, this is C. I'm working on a UI library layout engine. I was gonna say also the cursor is perfectly aligned with the damn thing, but it isn't. So that's not working either. Um, I'm confused as to why a change just undid itself, honestly. Is there padding? I don't think there is padding. Scan by. This rule should be disabled. But that won't change anything. Why did it just run a git pull as the last command? That's not the last command. See, the cursor starts here. It should start here. Alright, let me check one more thing real quick before I... Maybe I'm missing something. The first include of the file is syscalls.h. Yes, starts here. Okay. So it's not that it actually does also start down here, but I don't see it somehow. That's not it. Okay. So this view takes up this space. Okay, so if... Yeah, this absolute thing, by the way, is going to become fixed, because it makes no sense to call it absolute. No, although, yeah, it does make sense. But not like this. Okay, so the rule that I had here made sense. If the node info sizing rule equals to size absolute, you're going to do that instead of this. X plus this And y plus this, okay. So it's absolute positioning, but relative to its parent still. It doesn't move outside of its parent. It's an absolute relative type of thing, because absolute technically means totally absolute, but whatever. I kind of need it to work this way, except it doesn't. So that doesn't help. Again, I'm so confused as to what's happening here. So again, print new direction, and you're going to tell me what the direction is. Then tell me the value of this. All right. Now go for it. So QEMU used to not allow you to do Control C, now it does. So thank you for that. All right. Do I have an exception for something about absolute? No. Oh, this node never lays itself out. I have rules for when a relative should lay itself out. One for when fill should, one for when fit should, but not one for when the other one should. So, okay, that makes sense. Size fit. Else if child, if... I can just put a switch on here. Although a switch isn't really accurate here either. Okay, if it is absolute, its new layout is completely kept the same. We just have to tell it to lay itself out, and we don't use its results for anything. That's what was missing. Hi, Celestial Bluetooth. Okay, cool. This is fixed. Next issue. The text disappears. Why do I think the text disappears? I don't know. Ask Claude. Actually, pretty sure I know why. Hey, Clang worked this time. Alright, so here's the deal with this. When you render text, you render it inside of these bounds, but we're not keeping track of. No, we are. Although, we kind of aren't. Have there been any recent changes here, like in the last week, to this code, or... No. Okay. So we tell it to render the text inside of this rectangle here. Cool. And the rectangle is done by the origin point of the node plus its offset. Is that plus offset correct? That's what I'm not so sure about. I'm telling you where to render it. I'm pretty sure scrolling just moved the actual visual cursor without actually scrolling at all. So that's cool. Okay, now it's doing nothing. Okay, so we do use that. All right. The OS is just something I'm working on completely from scratch. Kind of seeing what I can do with it. Right now, struggling to render text, which is not a very good look considering how much I've mocked people who struggle to render text. I still think it's a skill issue. This is just a bug. Oh no, I remember changing something when it came to like point here or like to scrolling offset. But yeah, that's not working. Yeah, okay. I wonder how long this bug has been here more so. Have I just not scrolled since I introduced this entire new text drawing algorithm? Because this new text drawing algorithm has not bothered in the slightest in drawing text using an offset. It simply does not. Isn't that so cool? Isn't that so absolutely fucking cool? Alright, yeah, I haven't been using the offset. I can do... the way that I'm thinking of doing it, I can do vertical scrolling. I'm not sure I can do horizontal scrolling. No, I'm gonna see. Then adapt it if I need. Alright. There should be a line and column to position. Yep. Using the node info offset x divided by the char width char and the node info offset y divided by the line height of the node content. That is going to give me a U32 offset. Content. Your data is going to be offset bigger or equal to node content length than 0. Otherwise, the node content length plus the offset minus the offset for the size. Okay, char width is still missing. Pretty sure I have them like defined here somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna give them proper functions. I'm slowly starting to differentiate between a character width and a character height, so I can start drawing more complex fonts. So return that as the character width, and then the line height is going to be still the character size plus the line spacing, which I'm pretty sure is probably going to fix the issue of the cursor not being perfectly aligned with this thing. No, because it's literally the same calculation I'm doing here, just no longer being done manually. Alright, so I'll have to look into it a little bit more, but yeah. There we have it. I'm pretty sure I know where that issue is going to be, and I'm going to need to move what I'm doing right now inside of this function, but I want to see it happen first. Are we good? Line and column to position, okay, and then position to line and column. Okay, so this. Yeah. Why couldn't I type anything there? I wasn't supposed to type, but I couldn't type anything there. That was weird. Alright, anyway. These two functions I need to expose. Oh. Alright. I think this is from scratch, yes. This will work for the offset on the vertical, but not on the horizontal. And the horizontal is gonna be interesting, to say the least. So vertical scrolling should be fine. Yep, looks fine. Yep. All good. What the fuck just crashed? Probably this. But why did it just crash the entire system? That makes no sense. Process crashed and then system crashed. What happened there? Okay. God damn it, again? It's not like I made any changes to anything other than this. So... the strange bug from yesterday? No, it luckily was fixed. Alright, so what the fuck is this offset that you calculated to be so dangerously horrible? That cannot possibly be. It's literally 0. Oh, okay. I realized this should have been data. But I do wonder why Crash Handler must have a dwarf bug, probably. Because that always crashes. Sounds really weird out of context, too. Alright, so there we have it. Can we scroll? It's calculating the offset at 30. And never anything other than 30. Even though... like... weird. Oh, the offset is negative. Yeah, that makes sense. I am Italian and Venezuelan, and I live in Spain. Alright, so... should I... yes, there is a YouTube chat as well. I just don't have it on screen anymore. Yeah, you know what? I already know that even though this may work eventually, like, this should make it work. And now give me a ridiculous value. I think. But horizontal chat is... horizontal scrolling is not gonna work. Also, this doesn't work either, so whatever. Man. Fuck you. Let's forget this whole thing. Go back to the node content. You are going to pass the node info offset to these two functions. Because it's easier for the text renderer to handle scrolling in this case. I'm even going to be nice and call it scroll for you. Alright, so that goes after the bounds. There. Why did I put it before the bounds? I said it goes after the bounds and then I put it before the bounds. Well, that wasn't very correct of me. Alright, there we go. It goes after the bounds. Now, think about the bounds. is that it should have already been handling it. Fuck off. It's already been calculating it, hasn't it? It should have been. And this text, I do believe this used to work. I don't think, since I made changes in multiple libraries, I don't know if I can go back and check. But scrolling here used to work. At some point or another it worked. I just don't know if when I introduced these functions it worked or it broke and I never saw it. But from the looks of it, it should work because I am using the offset here. But I shouldn't. I don't even understand where the bug is. I guess text rendering can be difficult. No, again, still not gonna accept that it's difficult. It's just a tiny rendering issue. And I have been at it for 3 hours, so... Well, not this one issue, for 3 hours. Alright, so when we draw text, we have a cursor. We use a char width and line height. Alright, we calculate a bunch of stuff. We even go new line. And then we only draw the character if the current character is not a new line. And the current cursor is smaller than the size width and the height. Oh, that might be it. The cursor starts at 0, 0. And it moves with this. No, still not understanding what's happening here. Alright, the character is C, which comes from here. You render the entire string, moving the cursor. And the bounds are changing here. Okay. I'm going to try something. Since I think I understand what's happening. If that's the case, then I do need what I did here before. The scroll to be back, yep. Bring that back. And here, that's fine. How to know when we're supposed to render? It is based on the cursor plus the offset. Or minus the offset, I guess. Because it is kind of inverted if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if on both sides or not, but yeah, something like that. minus scroll.y. And when I call this function, after that, you're going to put the node info offset as the scroll. This int point and GPU point are the same thing. They used to be different, now they're the same. Maybe it's time I start moving away from int point into GPU point, because int point doesn't make any sense. Alright. There you go again. There you go again. Oh, I didn't finish doing it, did I? The error fixed itself after I did this. What? Although I understand it's because of Clang reloading. Coding fluently, just code a lot and eventually you'll get good at it. Alignment. Oh my god, your mom's not aligned. Alignment fault. Alignment fault. Alignment fault. Code needs to be perfectly aligned. Everything needs to be perfectly aligned in ARM because everything is so clean and nice and nothing. Oh my god, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. ARM, sometimes things are unaligned. Genuinely deal with it. Stop giving me alignment faults. Especially when all I'm doing is math. Hello? Isn't all I did math? Did I change any code? I'm starting to freak out. Is this gonna be one of those? Yeah, I'm glad x86 doesn't have this problem either. It's the one thing that it has that's better. Genuinely, what the fuck? How do you do this properly, by the way? I never remember how to do this properly. Yeah, this works. Did not even graduate college, so no, I just got into it by sheer force of will. Brother. I swear to God, what is happening? Oh, wait. Okay, I just saw Zed did something nice. These are bright yellow. These are a more muted yellow because they're staged. You couldn't tell the difference before. I used to always, whenever I'm working on something but I'm not done, but I've made some progress, it works up to this point, I stage it. And like, all I did was add a value. All I did was add this value, that's it. Why are you being so weird about this? I'm not even using it. All I did was I moved this into its own function. I moved this into its own function. I added a new argument. And then I called it. That was that. That's it. Why is it an alignment fault all of a sudden? Wait, the alignment fault, it's a null. Why is it a null pointer all of a sudden? See, the error is a null pointer, and then there is an alignment fault, which I'm starting to understand why the system is crashing. There's a damn alignment fault in the dwarf debugger, which went away for a while. Now it's back. I'm assuming it's because that something moves around. I don't know. So yeah, when it tries to read debug information, it crashes again. Not because they did anything wrong, just because a wrong address. It's technically you're not supposed to access it like that. Actually, it's supposed to be aligned. So fuck off, ARM. Oh no, man. This makes no sense. Just let me access data. Also, it kind of makes it a pain in the ass to work with networking, because networking is almost never aligned. Networking is not good at that. Like, networking tries to not use as little space as possible, so it will pack data as closely together as possible. You'll get a lot of really weird values, like something that's 5 bits in size. But also you'll get 64 bits followed by 8 bits followed by another 64 bits. Except not really, because everything was designed in the 90s and hasn't been changed since, and everything is 32 bits. But yeah, you will get like alignment issues trying to read those packed structs. But yeah, the actual crash is a it still doesn't make any sense. But it's trying to read something from the stack that is 0. And I don't really have the ability to do a dump on this program to see exactly that address. GDB would be a pain in the ass. So confused. Alright, so I already know this is the case. So this is really all I care about. Also, the values of these are 0. It's hard to understate how little this should change anything. Has the damn code been like that again? Okay, a clean fixed it, thank god, because I've actually dealt with bugs in which were just as nonsensical as this one, and a clean didn't fix them, so at least it did here. That's cool. Get some stale data or whatever in the compilation process. Oh yeah, it probably didn't reload the header file. So it didn't realize that there was a new argument to this function or something, I don't know. Yeah, anyway. Bringing this back, with the actual thing that I was trying to test. I'm glad I clean fixed it, because, again, this hasn't happened in a while. Let's not do any bounce checking. I'm not doing any bounce checking anymore. Anything whatsoever. But it stops rendering after a while. Is there like an early return or something? It uses the entire slice length. And then... this break is relative to this 4. Nothing else. You should be rendering every single string of this. I'm not sure if this is recompiling. It should be, but maybe it isn't. The entire time I've just been wasting my time here. Oh god, that's a possibility, isn't it? Yeah. Alright, so now it renders everything. Kinda doesn't check bounds. Okay, that's the opposite of what I want. So, yes, this needed to be a plus. Always a possibility that that would happen. But it looks like we're getting to the end of this, where it... yes, scrolls again. Good. Now there is a thing that happens as well, but if I start debugging all of this... now, okay. It's worked now. Although, where is my cursor? It's not moving along with me. I also need to check. Yeah, okay. We're good. We're good. Thank God. Okay. Good. So text rendering is fixed. And now I can say... that. But then I can go back to the rendering library real quick. And now we know exactly the line height. And where I was calculating the cursor here, it uses first off, these values are 0 when you begin, so and they're already being used, so we can just get rid of them. It uses these two functions. It uses line height here, which is wrong. So we're gonna get rid of them. And now the cursor's calculation of a line height and of the width of a character is the same as that of the rendering library, which should make the cursor perfectly aligned. There was a ×2 somewhere. It is perfectly aligned, it's just double the size that it needs to be. Oh. Yeah, hold on. First off, these are like 3 function calls that make no sense. Yeesh. What a horrible thing you have done. I feel like Zed has pretty good handling of multiple cursors, but sometimes it doesn't handle them very well. Most of the times it does, though. Okay, this info.type is not really the size. You have to do this calculation. Because the info type is like title, subtitle, header, subheader. Whereas we're actually using like pixel size. So there we have it. It's a little bit bigger than it needs to be, really. Yeah, it's almost perfect. Alright, I want to get the line spacing. Then get the character height from the line height minus the line spacing. That way I can be super precise with how I do this. Your location is actually going to be the line height. I do need the line height as well. Alright. So the location of the cursor is going to be the current line that we're on based on line height plus the line spacing divided by 2, the top part of the line spacing. And its height is only going to be the character height, not the entire line height. That way, well, is that actually even accurate? Not really. I just think it looks better. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It takes up the entire height of the line. I'm guessing the rendering library does it differently. Yeah, this makes it perfectly accurate. But let me look at the rendering library real quick. Do you use the line spacing for anything? No, that's the problem. They look like a text box. Okay, that's fine. I think we're good. I think the cursor works, I think scrolling works, I think everything works. I did not have time to look into attuing this whole thing up. Because, of course, attuing this... It's starting to scroll a little bit sooner than it should, so... There's some more calculations happening there that are not happening properly. And I'm pretty sure it's because of the line height. Yep. We're using the wrong value here. This is text to scale. So is this. This was always wrong, by the way. Or no, I had a macro before. This probably handled it. Okay. Cursor's gone. Not sure where he went. Okay. A little bit of refining to do there. But it's fine. It is fine for now. That's more than enough. Okay, I didn't get around to doing TUI calculations and whatnot. I will, but probably Monday. It's not a very... or Friday. Yeah, it's like a during the week type of stream thing, not a weekend stream type of thing. Because it's more of what I did today. It's more math and whatnot. Anyway, the way that I plan on doing text rendering is that I just tell you that the size of the view that you're going to render to is smaller. That's it. Because really, like, when you render into a terminal, you're rendering to a box, same as normal. But instead of rendering to the individual pixels, you render to a group of pixels, usually in the size of a vertical rectangle like this, as a whole. That's a very, very clearly a rectangle, right? Isn't that so obvious? They're all the same size too. You can tell exactly what I'm talking about. Right, so instead of rendering to pixels, you render to these things. So really, there's a little bit of distortion calculation there because the line height and width are different. And I'm tired. Yeah, the line height and the line width are different from each other. So it's not a square, it's a rectangle. So you have to take care of that. And the second thing that you kind of have to take care of is the fact that text renders, instead of multiple pixels per character, which is how it works when you're actually rendering 2 pixels. You know, if you're rendering a character, you render it like this. Instead now, a character just goes inside of one of these fake pixels. Right, so it's a little bit of scaling, calculation changes, and a little bit of an exception for text, in which it will always render, first off, same size always. Can the terminal even have multiple sizes? I don't think so. My text library can handle it. I don't think the terminal can handle it. Anyway, scale issue on the terminal's end. Yeah, so those two things. Uneven grid. In addition to being scaled, it is uneven. And text gets handled as rendering into 1 pixel instead of multiple ones. Besides that, well, sometimes it would get rendered into multiple pixels actually, because Unicode can be weird. But I'm talking about ASCII 8 bits, so yeah, for the time being, that will be enough. Alright, so that's the plan for next time for a Friday, probably, or Monday. It depends on when I feel like doing this. Because it's going to be more math, and takes a while. I probably could have gone around to it if I hadn't yapped for an hour. Oh well, that sucks. Oh, with that being said, thank you so much for joining, everybody. gonna probably do some more like code editor stuff when I don't do this. Some more code editor stuff, some more compiler stuff. I kind of want to get around to it a little bit, so I can tie it back with the code editor as well. All of that tying together the language file system protocol. And with that, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.